Another book with the name The Big Con, The Story of the Confidence Man by David Morer. As you see, I asked ChatGPT to give me the summary and the key points of this book. So, The Big Con, The Story of the Confidence Man by David Morer is a seminal work that delves into the history and inner workings of the confidence games. It provides a comprehensive exploration of the techniques, language, and psychology behind cons, offering valuable insights into the art of deception, key points, and the summary of the book. So, historical perspective, more, I think pronouncing it correct. Morer takes readers in on a journey through the history of confidence games, tracing their roots back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries. So it looks like gonna be kinda old-fashioned scams, but I think in general, people's psychology didn't change that much since that time. We have, I think, basic manipulative stuffs. So he explores the evolution of cons and highlights notable cases that shape the world of fraud. So the second key point is the technique of the con. The book reveals the intricate methods employed by confidence men to deceive their victims. Moorer dissects various scams, including the wire game, the rag scheme, and the big store con, explaining the mechanics of each and how they exploit human psychology. Yeah, I don't know. He didn't read the book yet, and is he like a psychology scientist or what? I don't see money greed that I don't see his greediness yet. Okay, the third key point is language and slang. More places significant emphasis on the language used by con artists. He uncovers the unique jargon. It seems it should be, I guess, English. Oh, sorry, French word and slang employed by confidence men to communicate with each other with while concealing their true intentions from their marks. This linguistic analysis provides an intriguing glimpse into the subculture of the con. Yeah, if you want to manipulate people, you have to know, special vocabulary. It depends what kind of people you want to scam, I guess. So the fourth key point is psychology of the mark. The author explores the psychological vulnerabilities that make individuals susceptible to con games. He discusses the factors that allow confidence men to gain the trust and confidence of their victims, including the desire for easy wealth, greed, and the willingness to suspend disbelief. The anatomy of a con more takes readers behind the scenes, dissecting the step-by-step process of executing a successful con. He examines the planning, execution, and aftermath of confidence games, shedding light on the intricate strategies employed by con artists to maximize their chances of success. Yeah, it seems like I'm reading the same line but in different words. Okay, next key point is law enforcement and countermeasures. The book also delves into the efforts of law enforcement agencies to combat confidence games. Moore explores the techniques used by detectives to infiltrate con rings, gather evidence, and bring the perpetrators to justice. Perpetrators, it's a synonym of the bad guys, yeah. For people who are not native speaker, me as well, I just from time to time will explain some words, in a simple way. Because for me, it is also not just reading; it's English practicing. Yeah, and from time to time, I will also, check out some vocabulary. He also highlights the countermeasures employed by business and individuals to protect themselves from being victimized. The Beacon offers a captivating and informative exploration of the world of confidence games by examining the history, techniques, language, and psychology of the con. Moore provides readers with a comprehensive understanding of this fascinating realm deception. So I don't know, let's get started to read this book, I guess, in order to, understand details better. Yeah. So we see the cover, Anchor Books, The Beacon, The Story of Confidence Man, by David Moore, W. Moore. So, blah blah blah. So, the contents. I don't know, let's start from introduction. The book you're holding in your hands, not actual holding, but okay, anyway. Now reprinted after shamefully long hiatus is like its subjects crowned with many hats. Its origins in linguistics. It is nominally a work of criminology. It has blood ties to folklore. It falls within the scope of Americana. It serves up a parcel of social history. And of course, it is a robust and spring-heeled piece of literature. Swindling is a literal subject that must go back to Egyptian and Mesopotamian antecedents, certainly to Reynard by Fox, to Reynard the Fox by way of the Elizabethan conjectures and the Spanish picaresque. In American culture, it looms as one of the major themes along. So it's too much big. Okay, along with self-invention and going on the lam, which are not unrelated. Edgar Allan Poe put it conclusively: a crowd there's fox chits. Yeah, let's make it bigger. It's fucking small. Yeah. A crowd thieves, a fox cheats, a weasel outwits, a man diddles. To diddle is his destiny. Man was made to mourn, says the poet, but not so. He was made to diddle. This is his aim, his object, his end. And for this reason, when a man's diddled, we say he's done. I didn't fucking get these lines. Let's try to understand them, in simple vocabulary. Me, this text as I am kid. Yeah, thankfully to ChatGPT we can understand better. So, again, I reading this line and after simple explanation. A crow this, a fox cheats, a weasel outwits, a man diddles. To diddle is his destiny, man was made to warn, says the poet, but not so. He was made to diddle. This is his aim, his object, his end. And for this reason, when a man's diddled, we say he's done. So, simple explanation. This text uses animals and playful language to talk about a certain human behavior, call it diddling. The author is saying that a crow steals, a fox cheats, and weasel outwits, but a man diddles. The word diddle in this context means to deceive or trick someone. Oh, it's a synonym of cheating, scamming. Alright, so the author suggests that it's a man's destiny to diddle or trick others. They playfully say that man was made to mourn, which means to be sad, according to the poet. But the author disagrees. Instead, they say that man was actually made to diddle or trick others. Oh, interesting. When someone is tricked or deceived, we say they have been done. So, when a man is diddled, we say he is done. So, the text uses fun and imaginative language to talk about the tendency of some people to deceive or trick others, suggesting that it's a natural part of human behavior. However, it is important to remember that honesty and treating others with respect are important values to uphold in our daily lives. So, based on this text, we can say that author was meaning that if you're sad, you're not actually sad. Your mission is to diddle. No, I mean the point is there are two types of people who scam and get scammed. All right. So the big con can also be considered a piece of art criticism, since it is not just any taxonomy of styles in diddling, but a refined application of the high swindle, the confidence game in its Augustan age. David Morer was a linguist, eventually professor emeritus of linguistics at the University of Louisville. He began his publishing career in 1930 with the speech peculiarities of the North American fisherman, and not long after began his lifelong study of criminal and demi-monde dialects. His other books include With the Mop, a correlating of technique argot. Okay, it seems all like theoretical stuff. Maybe it's also useful, but I want to read. I want to, start reading a book because I don't know. It's gonna be like a real story or just like theoretical hypothetical analysis. So let me see. Oh my god, it wasn't even an introduction. This is one introduction. Okay, let's read for a little bit introduction. This bit of journalism came into being in a rather curious fashion. It is really a byproduct of linguistic research, in the course of which I have had to examine the background of many rackets The impetus for it came from the half-humorous suggestion of a confidence man who was going through my files. The execution of it was made possible only by the cooperation of competent professionals. The methods by which I collected my material were not in any way bizarre or unusual. I did not resort to false whiskers. I did not, like the author of a recent expose or the odds of the professional gambler, feel it necessary to palm myself off as a detective. I did not try to join any mobs incognito. I simply talked to a confidence man who, little by little, supplied the necessary facts. Facts were not available in libraries or in police records. Facts which come only from the criminal themselves. Okay, it seems it's gonna be like a interview version of the criminal, but in the paper. Okay, and the guy who I'm doing interview, is he like a some sort of detective, I guess? In the course of preparing the manuscript, it has seemed advisable to suppress some material which might damage confidence men now operating and prominent individuals who have been victimized. Also, upon advice of attorney, I have omitted the names of some high police officials and politicians who act as fixers for criminals and have attributed pseudonyms to others in order to avoid the repercussions which might result from linking on ostensibly respectable citizens with underworld. Yeah, in other words, there's some corruption with the cops and with the bad guys. Okay, okay. So let's start from chapter one, but there's no actually numerizing of chapters. The names used in this book. Among most of the names and monikers for confidence men appearing in this book are genuine. However, in some cases, it has been desirable to disguise the identity of certain men under synthetic underworld nicknames. When this has been done, the moniker has been. What is it? Moniker. So, moniker, meaning in one sentence, meaning in one sentence, synonyms, and example sentences. Yeah, another commercial break for vocabulary. So, moniker means a person's name or nickname. Synonyms for moniker include appellation, handle, cognomen, sobriquet, or title. His moniker guru reflects his expertise in the field of spirituality. For another example, she goes by the moniker Red due to her fair red hair. Another example, the famous actor whose moniker is The Rock. It's like a role or what? Okay, let's get back to our story. Okay, the moniker has been so composed that underworld figures may, without too much difficulty, discern the true identity underneath. For instance, 102 102 St. George is so called because his first name is George and his swindling establishment is located in the 200 blocks on W blah blah blah. Okay, let's start from chapter 1, from real chapter 1. A word about confidence man. The grief has a gentle touch. It takes its toll from the word and succor by means of the skilled hand or the sharp wit. In this, it differs from all other forms of crime and especially from the heavy rackets. It never employs violence to separate the mark from his money. Of all the grifters, the confidence man is the aristocrat. Although the confidence man is sometimes classed with professional thieves, pickpockets, and gamblers, he's really not a thief at all because he does not actually stealing. The trusting victim literally thrusts a fat bankroll into his hands. It is a point of pride with him that he does not have to steal. Confidence men are not crooks in the ordinary sense of the word. They are suave, slick, and capable. Their depredations are very much on the gentle side. Okay, I need another, explanation. Simple explanation of this word. Tell me this text in most simple vocabulary. Okay, confidence men are not crooks like regular criminals. They're smooth, clever, and skilled. Their actions are more refined and sophisticated. Crook, meaning the word crook typically refers to a person who is involved in criminal activities or someone who is dishonest and engaged in fraudulent behavior. A crook is often associated with someone who breaks the law or engage in illegal action for personal gain. In other words, crook, it's criminals. Okay, we got your point. So let's back to our story. Yeah. In other words, this text means that he's not simple criminal. He's very intelligent. So, because of their higher intelligence, their solid organization, the widespread condiments of the law, and the fact that the victim must virtually admit criminal intentions himself if the wishes if the sorry, I lost. Because of their high intelligence, their solid organization, the wide spread connivance of the law, and the fact that the victim must virtually admit criminal inventions himself if he wishes to prosecute society. Society has been neither willing nor able to avenge itself effectively. Relatively few good con men ever brought to trial. Of those who were tried, few convicted. Of those who were convicted, even fewer ever serve out their full sentences. Many successful operators have never a day in prison to pay for their married and lucrative lives spent in fleecing willing marks on the big con games. A confidence man prospers only because of the fundamental dishonesty of his victim. First, he inspires a firm belief in his own integrity. Second, he brings into play powerful and well nigh irresistible forces to excite the cupidity of the mark. Then he allows the victim to make large sums of money by means of dealings which I explained to him as being dishonest and hence a sure thing. Okay, let's make some small summary. This confidence man, the main high intelligent bad guy, he scamming organizations, and the way of his scamming is like engaging them he engaging them to the illegal activities for their benefit. Yeah, in other words, he already engaging them to the bad things. And I think the reason why, because he do that, because after they get scammed, they will not report to the cops. So as their lust for large and easy profits is fanned into a hot flame, the Mark puts all his scruples behind him. He closes out his bank account, liquidates his property, borrows from his friends, embezzles from his employers or his clients, in the mad frenzy of cheating someone else. He's unaware of the fact that he's a real victim, carefully selected and fatted for the kill. Those arises the tried but none the less sage maxim: you can't cheat an honest man. These fine old principle rules all confidence games, big and little, from a simple three-card Monte or shell game in a shady corner of a country fairgrounds, to the intricate payoff or rag played against a big store replete with expensive props and manned by survey experts. Pay off or rag. What does it mean? Please, ChatGPT, tell me. So, pay off or rag can have different meanings depending on the context. Here's simplified explanation. Okay, let's take it from our sentence. This is one fundamental rule applies to all confidence game, whether they're small scale tricks like the three-card Monte or shell game at local fair, or more elaborate schemes such as the payoff or rag played against a well-equipped department store by skilled and smooth operators. So, what does it mean? Pay off or rag here. In this context, payoff or rag is referring to a more complex confidence game that is played against a big store. It implies that the game involves manipulating or deceiving the store using various tactics and props. The term payoff suggests that the operators of the game aim to gain some sort of reward or advantage from the store, while rag could be references to a method or strategy used in the game. The details of the specific game being described are not provided, but it highlights the contrast between simpler confidence games and a more elaborate scheme played against a large establishment. Okay, tell me, because I didn't get that completely. What's the meaning? Tell me payoff or rag in simple words. In simpler terms, payoff refers to a scheme where operators aim to gain some kind of reward or advantage, often through taxes or manipulations. Rag here is used to describe a method or strategy employed in the game, but without further context. It's the specific is unclear. Interesting. Payoff or rag. There may be synonyms to for this phrase. No. Alright, synonyms for payoff or rag in the context of confidence game could include scheme, swindle, scam, payoff or rag. Alright, let's call it just scam. So the 3-card Monte grifter takes a few dollars from a willing farmer here and there. The big con men take thousands or hundreds of thousands from those who have it, but the principle is always the same. Again, the 3-card Monte grifter takes a few dollars from a willing farmer here and there. The big con men take thousands of $100. The big con men take thousands and hundreds of thousands from those who have it, but the principle is always the same. Yeah, in other words, it depends of what scale this kind of bad guy is working with the big money or small money, but principle, yeah, kind of the same. You have to get people trust. So this accounts for the fact that it has been found very difficult to prosecute confidence men successfully. At the same time, it explains why so little of the true nature of confidence games is known to the public. For once a victim is fleeced, he often proves to be a most reluctant and untruthful witness against the men who have taken his money. By the same token, confidence men are hardly criminals in the usual sense of the word, for they prosper through a superb knowledge of human nature. Yeah, you have to know, human psychology very well if you want to do this kind of shit. So, by the same token, confidence men are hardly criminals in their usual sense of the word, for they prosper through a superb knowledge of human nature. They're set apart from those who employ the machine gun, the blackjack, or the acetylene torch. Their methods differ more in degree than in kind from those employed by more legitimate forms of businesses. Modern conmen use at present only 3 big con games, and only 2 of these are now used extensively. In addition, there are scores of short con games which seems to enjoy periodic bursts of activity followed by alternate periods of obsolescence. Some of these short con games, when played by big-time professionals who apply the principles of the big con to them, attain very respectable status as devices to separate the mark from his money. The 3 big con games, the wire, the rag, and the payoff, have in some 40 years of their existence taken a staggering toll from a gullible public. No one knows just how much the total is, because many touches, especially large ones, never come to light. Both gunmen and police officials agree that roughly 90% of the victims never complained to the police. Some professionals estimate that these three games alone have produced more illicit profit for the operators and for the law than all other forms of professional crime, excepting violations of the prohibition law over the same period of time. However, that may be, it is very certain that they have been immensely profitable. All confidence games, big and little, have certain similar underlying principles. All of them progress through certain fundamental stages to an inevitable conclusion. While these stages or steps may vary widely in detail from type to type of game, the principles upon which they are based remain the same and immediately recognizable. The big con games, the steps at this. So, this first one, locating and investigating a well to do victim, putting the mark up. Yeah, in other words, like you have to understand where you wanna do your shit, to which kind of city or village, and you have to make some research about your victim. So the second tip, gaining the victim's confidence, playing the con for him. Yeah, you have to get his trust, I guess. So next one is steering him to meet the inside man, roping the mark. Inside man, I don't know. It's like a secretary or something. So next one is permitting the inside man to show him how he can make a large amount of money dishonestly, telling him the tale. Oh, like you have to, in other words, you have to tell him some fairy tale how he can make a bunch of money in illegal way. Next step is allowing the victim to make a substantial profit, giving him the convincer. Yeah, like you're describing him some scheme, some illegal scheme, and I guess like you telling him how much money he can make, all details. So after next step, determining exactly how much he will invest. Like that's the main step, I guess, giving him the breakdown. Next step, sending him home for this amount of money, putting him on the scent. Next step, playing him against a big store and fleecing him, taking off the touch. Playing him against a big store, fleecing him. Against big store, fleecing him. That was fleecing? Fleecing, yeah. Fleecing. Why you didn't copy this? Okay, what does fleecing means here? And give me synonyms. So, in this context, fleecing Oh my god, so much synonyms for scam, you know. In this context, phishing means to deceive or swindle someone out of their money or professions, often through cunning or dishonest tactics. Okay, in other words, it's another synonym for scamming. So, playing him against the big store and fleecing him. Okay, next step, getting him out of the way as quickly as possible, blowing him off, and last step, forestalling action by the law, putting in the fix. Forestalling action by the law. What does it mean? Forestalling. Forestalling means keyword and synonyms. So, in this context, forestalling refers to taking preemptive action to prevent or evade legal consequences. It implies action in advance to avoid being caught or facing punishment. Avoiding, yeah. Let's check out correct pronunciation. So, correct pronunciation gonna be
Forestalling.
forestalling. What about American pronunciation?
Forestalling.
Forestalling. Okay, forestalling. Forestalling. Okay, it's a synonym of avoid. I got your point. So the beacon, in other words, it's a step-by-step action how to, this confidence man was cheating rich people, and in simple words, he was, describing some illegal scheme. He was convincing about big profit and how much money he has to invest in order to get more benefit. And after, he just, I guess, ran away, and that's it. So the Bitcoin games didn't spring full-fledged into existence. The principles on which they operate are as old as civilization, but their immediate evolution is closely knit with the invention and development of the big store, a fake gambling club or broker's office in which the victim is swindled. And within the 20th century, they have, from the criminal's point of view, reached a very high state of perfection. Yeah, since that time, I guess it's progressed very well, especially with this digital age. So, the second chapter, the big store. In the fall of 1867, the Union Pacific Railway reached Cheyenne, Wyoming, and that hurly-burly outpost became the spearhead of a frenzied effort which thrust its way relentlessly up the canyons, through the passes, and over the badlands, ever towards the west. Its population increased manyfold. It swelled until the frontier town became teeming little city, sprawling on the plateau like a heavily muscled giant, and still too small, threatening momentarily to burst every seam. Close-packed frame buildings lined the mud streets, ridiculous in their raw elegance, while around the outskirts, clustered the shacks and tents of the myriads of adventurers who thought they knew not what in this new country. In the dust swirled streets, cattlemen, miners, laborers, engineers, land speculators, soldiers, and gamblers surged in a tangle of men, horses, and men and raw whiskey and wood smoke. They hang a more elusive smell, one which emanated from the fevered blood of the man and tainted the air with an electric quality. It was a door of an ancient lust, the lust of easy money. Ben Marks understood all about easy money, for his business was sure thing gambling. Since he had left his home in Council Bluffs, Iowa, he had roamed the country from the Mississippi on the west. His youthful, stocky figure and red whiskers bristling in friendly fashion were a familiar sight on river steamboats at land opening and on the streets of frontier towns. Suspended from his broad shoulders, he carried a board upon which he played a most popular frontier gambling game which had come up from Mexico. Three-card monte. It was a simple little game in which the players bet against the operator, whose deft manipulation of the cards and amusing spiel drew a crowd about him on the street. He threw three cards face down upon the board in plain view of the spectators, then invited them to peek out of the queen. First for fun, then for money. Interesting. They knew it was easy, for they could see Queen flash as he threw the cards. Then he offered to bet upon the ability of anyone to find the queen. One of these accomplices, a shield, bet $1 and peeked out the queen. The crowd grew interested. More and larger bets were taken. Meanwhile, another accomplice had located a fat sucker and connived with him to examine the cards. Surreptitiously bent the corner of the queen slightly and beat the operator. When the bet had been run up high enough, the trick was tried, but Bent deftly removed the ear from the market card and put it on another as he manipulated the cards. The player was dumbfounded when the queen evaded him. Yeah, in other words, we see how they was, cheating by these cards, because cheating by cards and betting on them, there was a kind of big place, like popular way of scamming and gambling. But now I think it all goes online like a casino. So Ben ground away this little grifting game, picking up bets of $5 and $10, occasionally one as large as 25. It made a living for him and his shares, but that was about all. He had too much competition on the streets of Cheyenne, where catering to the vices of lasting men had become one of the chief enterprises. The fat suckers paid the little attention to Montplayer, who plied his trade on the street. The band had an idea which was eventually to revolutionize the grift, an idea which was to become the backbone of all big-time confidence games. Why not set up a place of business of his own? Why not operate from a permanent base? Let the players come to him. But how would he get trade? He would have to compete with numerous saloons where gambling was carried on amid other forms of blooded entertainment. Yeah, in other words, he started to think how to make his business, like this scamming shit, bigger and make customers come to him. So he turned the idea over in his mind for some time and finally opened in the shack of a building what he called the dollar store. In the windows, he exhibited all kinds of colorful, useful, and even valuable merchandise, with all items priced at $1, and he soon had customers plenty. Inside there were several Monte games going, replete with shields and sticks to keep the play going at a lively pace. Once gullible customer was lured in by the bargains he saw displayed, Benz switched his interest from the sale to the three-card Monte, which was being expertly played on bar hells. The merchandise never changed hands. It remained always the same, but the customers were different, and each one left some cash in Ben Mark's money belt. Like most pioneers, Ben didn't realize the importance of his innovation. Yeah, as you see, he opened some store and was selling some shit for a cheap price, but actually he was doing the same business, but in his own place. Yeah, like outside it was like a legal business, but inside he was doing his shit. Those in a very crude form developed what we know today as the big store, the swanky gambling club of or fake brokerage establishment in which the modern payoff or rag is played. It became the device which enables competent modern operators to take, say, 75,000 from a victim and at the same time conceal from him the fact that he has been swindled. Yeah, it is like, illegal casinos when they work like, let's say it's gonna be like a restaurant, but they have some sacred door where they doing the casino stuff. So although today that several types of stores use it, they all operate on the same principle and appear as legitimate places doing a large volume of business. So realistically, they manage and furnish it that the victim doesn't suspect that everything about them, including the patronage, is fake. In short, the modern big store is carefully set up and a skillfully managed theater where the victim acts out an unwitting role in the most exciting of all underworld dramas. It is a triumph of ingenuity of criminal mind. The use of a store against which to play the victims of a confidence game developed gradually. Previous to the very end of the 19th century, there were no big con games, although the country was overrun with what were then called confidence games. But which today known as short con games. They were played on the street, on passenger trains, in saloons, in gambling houses, on passenger ships with fairs and circuses, in short, any place where short con walkers could find people with a little money. During the last quarter of the 19th century, there were thousands upon thousands of these short con walkers playing the country. They liked to follow the bottom towns connected with mining and the land opening on the westward sweeping frontier, for their people had money and were speculation bound. The feverish atmosphere west of the Mississippi River was a healthy one in which corn games could flourish and grow. It was quite natural that the principle of the store should have been discovered in Chien, but as yet the mobs were not organized. They the fix didn't extend beyond the occasional bribing of a sheriff or constable, and the grifters made a small income at best. The idea of a store caught on among grifters, and they began to organize, raise enough capital to open stores and profit by Ben's simple invention. It spread over the west, then to the east, where it housed green goods, games, and the gold brick. Other forms of the short con, largely some from of gambling games, copied the idea, and little dollar stores sprang up all over the United States. One of them, incidentally, in Chicago, growing in a great modern department store, owing to the fact that the founder, who originally leased the building for Monta's store, found that he could unload cheap and flashy merchandise at $1 and make more than he could at Monte. But the idea of a store was well established and was to be forever afterward associated with confidence games. Ropers and steerers, long used by gambling devices, were adopted, which of course increased the volume of business tremendously and eventually made the display of merchandise unnecessary. Gamblers took up the idea, and the meat store succeeded the dollar store. The meat store masqueraded behind the front of legitimate business, for instance, a sample room where clothes was sold wholesale on the south and the southwest under guise of an institute where farmers were to be instructed in the control of the weevil or some other agricultural pest. Yeah, as we see, it started to changing. The scammers started to change how, to change the style of the shop. Like they shifted to this kind of mid store, and they was like pretending that they selling some clothes, but actually doing the same stuff. Yeah, and it seems like interesting book. Of course, like this kind of methods not actual anymore, but it is interesting to observe how it was back in the days in 90s and 20th century. Yeah, thank you for listening. If you have an idea about good book, you can say it in comments below.